Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Linda Kirkpatrick, and I'm an advisory solution consultant at ServiceNow. I cover large healthcare accounts in Florida and Georgia. Today, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to an insightful discussion about HR service delivery and the recent trends that are shaping the healthcare marketplace. But before I begin, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the Ante and WWT for hosting this event from sunny Jacksonville, Florida, as well as each of the esteemed panelists that are bringing their unique perspective and wealth of experience to this conversation. So thank you so much for your participation. So as we get started, I'd like to express once again how incredibly grateful we are for our partners at ServiceNow, without whom we would not be here today. So thanks again to WWT and the Ante. Your participation and engagement mean a great deal to ServiceNow, and we appreciate and recognize the investment of time and energy in hosting this transformative discussion. Now, without further ado, I'm excited to remind you all of who ServiceNow is and what we do and how we collaborate with our customers, our employees, and our entire ecosystem. Let me remind everyone here that our mission at ServiceNow is to make the world of work better for everyone. And by everyone, I mean the employees, the customers, the partners and suppliers, everyone within this value chain. We use our platform to drive digital transformation and to bring about change. Essentially, we make the world of work better. I'll expand on this a little bit on the next slide. So as many of you may know, ServiceNow was founded in 2004. And we've grown tremendously over the past 2 decades. Today, we stand strong with over 20,000 global employees, boasting a 28% year-over-year subscription revenue. All of this is thanks to customers like you who collaborate and partner with us to drive that innovation and digital transformation. With over 80% of the Fortune 500 companies now working with ServiceNow, we're immensely proud to have a 98% renewal rate. This is a testament to our customers who choose to stick with us, collaborate, and provide feedback on how to make things better and more innovative. So we channel this innovation to our broad customer base of over 7,400 companies who are supported by an ecosystem of more than 1,500 partners, including elite partners like the Ante and Worldwide Technology. We understand that we can't do this without our partner ecosystem. We're also proud at ServiceNow to be recognized for our efforts. Most recently, we were acknowledged as one of Glassdoor's best places to work in 2023. We also earned a spot on the Fortune 500 and People's Magazine list of companies that care and the world's most admired companies. It's an exciting time for us. But more importantly, these recognitions reflect our commitment to improving work lives across all industries. So in an ever-evolving healthcare landscape, we acknowledge the need for continuous innovation and adaptability. That's why we're all here today, to explore the transformative potential of HR service delivery. We're here to discuss trends, to share experiences, and provide some of those lessons learned. So now, before I transition to the heart of today's conversation, I just wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. We've closed the chat for general use, but there's a Q&A tool on your toolbar for any questions you might have. Feel free to post your questions at any time during the presentation or save them for the Q&A session at the end. Also, rest assured, we're going to share the audio and presentation with you after the event so you can revisit all of the useful information we'll be discussing today. And lastly, I'm sure many of you are excited about the raffle at the end of the presentation. The Ante and our friends at Worldwide Technology have generously donated some AirPod Pro earbuds for a raffle at the end. So let me remind you, you need to be present to win. So keep your fingers crossed and maybe start thinking about what songs you're going to listen to first if you win those. Might I suggest Ring the Bells by Leonard Cohen? That's one of my favorites because that's certainly a happy event when it happens at Moffitt Cancer Center. So now, as I transition to the heart of today's discussion, it's my distinct pleasure to pass the call to our esteemed panel of experts to introduce themselves. But before I do that, I want to once again thank you to our many customers and HR professionals that I see on the line today. Without you, none of us would be here today. So thank you for your continued championship of digital transformation and the ServiceNow platform. With that, I'd like to start out with our rock star customer from Moffitt Cancer Center, Nicole. Nicole, why don't you go ahead and take it from here for a round of introductions before you get into the heart of today's program.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda. Welcome, team, to the session today. I'm Nicole Ogrodzinski, and I'm the Director of IT Business Systems at Moffitt Cancer Center. I've been with Moffitt since 2020. My teams currently support about 200 applications covering everything that would be considered non-clinical. I'm excited to share our ServiceNow journey with you today. I'll go ahead and pass this over to Ruben.
Hey folks, glad you're all here today. I'm a strategic advisor with Worldwide Technology. I work with the IT and business leaders of companies in an advisory capacity, matching technology solutions to things that either enable or get in the way of their business. Brandy?
Thanks, Ruben. Hi, everyone. I'm Brandy Bass. I'm a managing partner at the Anti. We're an elite ServiceNow implementation partner that focuses solely on employee workflows. And in my role as partner, I've had the opportunity to support clients like Moffitt Cancer Center with their HR and employee experience transformations supported by ServiceNow. As a Tampa area native, Moffitt Cancer Center has a really special place in my heart. My grandfather was a cancer patient at Moffitt, and I was able to see firsthand the true care and compassion that Moffitt offers to its patients and their families. So I'm really excited to hear about and to be a part of sharing this implementation journey with you all. Nicole, do you mind sharing a little bit more about who Moffitt is?
Definitely. So Moffitt is located in Tampa, Florida. We have actually just recently jumped to about 8,600 employees with our phenomenal growth plans that are coming, and I'll talk about those in a moment. Our team members strongly believe in our mission of contributing to the cure and prevention of cancer. So every team member that you meet and you run into, we are all there for the same goal. You can see just our stats on the slide, and let's hop to the next slide. We are the only National Cancer Institute designate comprehensive cancer care in the state of Florida. The stats on this slide show just how disruptive cancer is, and our numbers also demonstrate our commitment to providing care of those people with cancer. We are also dedicated through research and finding a cure, as we are also an academic research facility as well. Next slide. Moffitt is growing by leaps and bounds. As a matter of fact, we just opened our brand new state-of-the-art surgical facility, the Moffitt McKinley Hospital, on July 31st. This building hosts 19 ORs, including an intraoperative MRI. We have 128 inpatient smart rooms, 72 perioperative rooms with the capacity to expand and meet all of our future demands. This is not our only expansion. Moffitt has been in the news a lot lately with our new Global Innovative Center located just north of Tampa on 775 acres of property that is newly named Sparrows, Florida. I lived this building for the past 3 weeks during its opening, and it does look just like that. That is a beautiful rendering of it.
So before we get into the details of the HR side of this specifically, we want to give a little bit of background on how we ended up here and how Moffitt even started with ServiceNow in the first place. Worldwide Technology has been working with Moffitt in partnership with them since 2018, so over 5 years. And back, as you see in the timeline here, in the beginning of 2019, I was having some conversations with their CTO about challenges they were having with their existing solution for managing just the IT service management aspect of running the IT shop, right? They had a mid-market product in that they had used for several years, and they were just having a lot of trouble finding people who could do customizations on the platform because it didn't do everything they needed. There were reporting challenges, process challenges, and stuff like that. So based on my experience throughout my career, I've had a lot of experience with service management, just in my own running IT teams myself, as well as working with customers. I brought the CTO and his leadership team of directors into our offices in Tampa for a half a day. We stood up a baseline ServiceNow instance and preloaded it with some generic data. And we spent half a day kind of walking them through from a service management process, incident change, some of the reporting that's all built in, standard things, right? And we kind of demonstrated to them right off the bat that, hey, a lot of things you're complaining about, you can't get your existing platform to do. It's kind of already in place with ServiceNow. It's there out of the box with minimal configuration. And also it's going to scale a lot better. And there are all these other modules on top of just the service management pieces that you will grow into eventually. And my advice to him was, you're at the right point in your growth cycle, especially with the large growth you guys are seeing. Nicole just addressed that, to put in a more enterprise grade solution. And so on the basis of that conversation, you can see here on the timeline, the following year, the CTO made the decision. They decided to move forward with the platform. I advised them to start with service management and IT operations management. So they would have that CMDB foundation that's crucial when you're getting going on the platform. And go live for that was in December of 2020. And true to predictions, as they got more comfortable with the platform and got more used to it, operating in it, and some of the benefits it brought, they expanded into the SPM module. Used to be called ITBM, for those of you folks who've been around a while. And then in the beginning of 2022, conversations started about automating some of the processes on the HR side of the house. At that point in the game, Worldwide has worked with the Anti in the past, and we knew that they were not ServiceNow implementation folks. They were specialists on HR implementation ServiceNow. And we thought that they would be the right person to bring in and help us do the implementation with Moffitt. And so we were off to the races from there. And I think Brandy and Nicole are going to now talk about the HR specific part of the journey.
Yeah, thank you, Ruben. So Nicole, if you don't mind, I'd love to dig in a little bit more to the HRSD side of your implementation journey. How did it start for you guys? What was the business case and the key outcomes you guys were looking to accomplish?
Sure, definitely. We really jumped into our HRSD journey looking to help automate the HR Answer Center and get a place where we could go from email and homegrown web forms and PDFs to something that allowed our teams to have trackability, reportability, and provide a place that our team members could go to have a single point of communication and not have to decide on multitude of places to go to ask a question. We really wanted to help reduce the administrative burden on our HR team, just with emails and printed PDFs and how do you collect this information, as well as we were looking to support our growth, knowing that we were moving into this period of high growth. We need a way that we can help support our team members and push them forward.
Awesome. And if you don't mind, I would like to move to the next slide. So ServiceNow's HRSD module is pretty complex. There's a lot, it's very robust. There's a lot of features to it. Everything from basic case intake, like you mentioned, getting out of homegrown forms and out of email and into a case management system, to more robust processes like employee relations and even cross-departmental items like employee onboarding. We've seen in our experience supporting customers, the most success when customers start simple and build from there. So start with building a foundation and then mature their processes and their governance structure, IT, HR, and all of the other components added onto that platform. How did you guys approach your implementation journey? What was your approach and why was it important to your success?
So we really started with our HR Answer Center. They were responsible for answering the phone for all HR related areas. So if you had a question about benefits, you called HR Answer Center. You had a team member employee relations case, you called the HR Answer Center. And what the HR Answer Center would do is they would compile that information into an email if they could immediately, first call resolution that. And then they would go out and they would track down via email communication the answers for the various team members, or pass that email off with whatever information they could collect to the teams that needed to provide the responses. And so given that they had a model that was very similar to the IET help desk, they became a single central point for all those HR questions. And our goal was to give them a way to manage their their interactions and provide a central stop for everybody to get a collection, and then for them to also see what type of questions they were getting. You can't report on email, so you couldn't go back and say, HR Answer Center takes 700 calls a year on benefits, and maybe we need to look to provide more benefits information. So that's really what our goal was to start getting metrics, start getting a way that they could track and they could provide those kind of tangible knowledge articles, other things for team members to get that single first call resolution, if you would.
So how did Employee Center or the portal play into that for you, especially you talked a little bit about you can't report on email.
Well, when we opened up with HR, we knew we wanted to jump into the Employee Center Pro side of things and have a single central place for everybody to go. And not that our team members had to think, I've got to click on the HR portal or I've got to click on the IT portal. And so really what that has allowed us to do is provide one place that a team member can go to. And I know we've got in a few slides, you'll see our Google search bar, as I refer to it, and they can go in and type in their question and it will bring them to the form and the information that they need to populate to get the answers that they need to get, or a knowledge article, which will share the information they're looking for. Outside of just HR, we have HR and IT. Parking on an academic campus does get quite a bit of traction for us. We have housekeeping, finance, research, all sorts of things that are now in this single employee portal for them.
Which I think I heard you call it the one start shop a few times during our implementation.
Yes, exactly. It's the one start place where they can go to get their answers and hop to whatever team it is that they need.
So when Ruben showed us the timeline earlier, he also mentioned employee relations, and you talked a little bit about your team member relations group. How was that the next step in your implementation journey?
Well, it was definitely a logical choice for us. So our team member relations team handles all employee relations cases. And so for them, they were very, very dependent upon PDF and email for communication. And they really wanted to hop in and take it to the next step of what our HR Answer Center accomplished, being that employees would call the HR Answer Center with a problem that team member relations would actually need to be able to handle. And so moving forward with that, our goal was to get them out of their email and manual processes and get them into a system that was very secure, so that only the right people can see the right employee information. And then also get them in a place where they can actually see caseload across those various team members and know what people were working on. And then again, what type of issues we have in the organization. I think one of our favorite examples through this process was providing the wrong cup of coffee. And so how many team members were provided the wrong cup of coffee throughout the year, and you're able to go back and take a look at that and have some metrics attached to it.
It can be a real issue if you're expecting fully loaded coffee and you get decaf.
True, very true.
So do you think it helped that you started with HR case for the Answer Center first before tackling team member relations? Like, how did that play into your journey?
It did. So when we started with kind of the HR Answer Center, they were really the base model, and their questions are the most open-ended. They had to be secure, right? Because you didn't want people's benefits or other information out. So it was secure to HR. But team member relations really stepped it up to that next level. And so having our HRIS partners with us in IT, and then merging the two, and then really helping the team member relations team, who, again, they've been working off of PDF and email. We were able to help explain to them cases and process and work through the logistics of how the system needed to be used. And so having that internal support with their HRIS team and their HR Answer Center team who were already using it, they were able to pick it up and ask subject matter experts in their own area first.
So I have to ask, is there any moment that stands out to you in these implementations and this journey that you're most proud of?
Really, it's the nothing to metrics when our teams were able to start pulling and saying, here's what the caseload looks like. Here is what you're seeing in number of calls the HR Answer Center is getting. Here is what you're seeing in the types of calls the HR Answer Center is getting. Really being able to provide that quantitative information back to them. That's really been I would say the thing that I'm most proud of in this journey.
And are there any benefits that HR and IT, since you're leveraging this platform for both groups, are there any benefits that you've seen to the Moffitt employees as a result of this implementation journey?
I think our employees are able to, and I'll say when we started down this path, and I really keep kind of going back to that Employee Center Pro for us. When we started down this path, it was go to the intranet here, get the document here, and you kind of had to know how to hunt and peck and where to go and how to look for information and what words were used by HR versus what words were used by IT. And us really being able to, and again, I explained to them the Twitter hashtags, we were able to bring those forward, put in common searchable tools, and give them the ability to really find what they needed without having to have that kind of internal knowledge or bookmarking of places and locations. They know they can go to a single central point and get what they need.
Good. I think there's a couple of questions in the queue. Do you want to tackle a couple of those?
Sure.
Awesome. So Adam asked, do employees call IT help desk for IT related issues and HR Answer Center for HR related issues?
So yes, currently they do. We have actually had a conversation about whether or not those two could be tied together. There is a culture and our IT help desk number is really known by everybody, and so is the HR Answer Center number. So it's been hard for us to break away from those phone numbers, but I think at some point in time, we'll be looking at a single shared services number.
Awesome. And, Adam also wants to know, how did your ServiceNow team grow to help support HRSD, Nicole, on top of everything that's going on with ITSM and ITOM?
So that's a fantastic question. We have really heavily relied upon our partners for support. So, and he's probably going to be mad because I saw him on here, but we have the most fabulous architect. No, you can't take him.
Everyone needs a Josh.
Everyone needs a Josh. So I have the most fabulous architect who helps support and coordinate and really is part of our journey in keeping everything together. And then we rely upon our partners with the with WWT to help us continue to grow. So internal support is done between our IT team and our HRIS team. And then when we're looking to do something a little bit bigger, we step out to those various partners.
It's awesome. Interesting. So, a follow-up question to that, how are you calculating the number of calls that you were getting? Are you using your phone system to gather that metric? Are you using interactions, incidents, cases? How are you determining that metric?
All of the above. So on the HR Answer Center side, they go ahead and our HR Answer Center employees do create a case for every call that they're taking. And so they'll go ahead and close those cases as they provide the responses. In our IT side of things, they've worked some with interactions. A lot of the calls that come into our help desk, we do have incidents that get created off of them. But we do take a look at the total number, and both leaders take a look at the total number of calls received versus tickets logged, and make sure that those tickets are being logged and the numbers are quantitatively equal.
Awesome.
So we kind of talked a little bit around what we like to refer to as best practices or leading practices as we talk through your implementation journey. And I think an important part of every implementation effort and even continual improvements is reflection and looking at lessons learned and key takeaways. We've completed several employee workflow implementations, I think over 300 now, and we try and do this reflection not only during the project, but also at the end with our customers. And we actually share the key themes with our entire consulting team. And some of the themes that we found with you guys, with Moffitt, actually made it into our ebook. We have an ebook on HRSD implementation best practices. I'd love it if you could walk us through some of the themes that we landed on together, starting with configure, don't customize, which sounds very logical, but can sometimes be a little more challenging than it sounds.
So I think everybody got tired of hearing me say those words. So every time somebody had said, oh yeah, we can customize to that. And I said, no. Is that configuration? Is that what the system is intended to do? Or are we going to customize that? I had the most wonderful CIO when we first started down our ServiceNow journey. And she had worked with ServiceNow in the past. And she looked at me and said, you do not customize this whatsoever. And really, with all of the upgrades, the tools that are available within ServiceNow, we really rely on a lot of the ServiceNow embedded technology for QA and for other things. And so from that side of things, when you start to customize or you start to walk away from the desired technology, you lose your ability to actually use the tool as it's meant. And so our environment is less than 2% customization. And I haven't looked at our recent scores, but we're always better than 90% on our health scores. So we're doing pretty good. Our upgrades move very quickly. They're pretty smooth from our ability to do testing. So I definitely wholeheartedly recommend that you stay away from customization where at all possible in any of this.
That was a fun point during the project. I remember in our one of our first design sessions with the HR team, someone mentioned, said the word customize, because in their language, it just means tailor it to us. And there was almost this like deep breath of like everyone just goes silent. We're like, we don't customize, we configure. So I think by the end of at least our first phase project, everyone on the team was used to hearing you say, we don't customize, we configure. This next one is kind of one of my personal favorites, and you said it a lot during the project. Earlier on in my consulting career, one of my good friends and colleagues, Dan Pira, said, don't let the pursuit of perfection be the enemy of good. And you took a very similar spin on that concept. How did you use this to help guide the implementations and the approach?
Yeah, and so this focus on better and not perfect, and is the juice worth the squeeze, or kind of they really tie together, right? So I wanted our teams to go out the gate, and keep in mind, we're going from email and PDF, and we lacked process in place. And so when you're sitting down, and as a HR person sitting down and saying, what are all the things I want to get, and what are all the steps, and what is all the process? And you can build out this really awesome, long, intricate form, and somebody still sends you an email. Or you can go through and build out this really long, intricate form where you ask all these questions, and somehow they still find the general help question bucket. So the goal is
The other.
Yeah, the other. The goal was with this is to get people into a place where they're starting to use the tool, and really getting you to a place where you're starting to get the tracking, you're starting to get what you need, and really accomplishing that 80%. And if there's that 20% that's the added, or the real edge use case, don't build it for the edge use case, really build it for what your core is and what you're seeing. And then if 3 months down the road, you realize you missed a question you really should have been asking, well, as you're doing your periodic review of these things, you can go back and add that question, and it becomes an add, and it doesn't become something that stops you in the process to get something out the door. And then again, is the juice worth the squeeze? Really, as you start talking through case types, or you start talking through catalog items, those types of things, really sit down and look at, am I only going to get 5 of these in the next year, or am I going to get 500 of them? And if the answer is, I only think I'm going to get a few of these, then let that be a general request. Let that move on, and really tackle the things that you're going to get the most use out of, and focus on that first.
Did you find any challenges with those concepts when we were doing the HR case intake, when we were starting simple, or did you see more challenges when we started taking on the more complex cases like employee relations?
It was definitely harder once we got to employee relations. There's so many steps in their process that I think trying to define those and trying to move about it logically and put things together, that made it a lot harder to kind of run that mantra. The original HRSD implementation with our HR Answer Center folks was a lot easier to do that with than once we hopped into team member relations. But we also had the foundation, so it kind of gave us a good balance.
I think the thing with team member relations too, Nicole, if I remember, was HR is already like worried about security and visibility and who can and can't see and what can
Yes.
IT cannot see, and HR's, and then team member relations was like a nugget inside of HR, even where even the rest of the HR couldn't see what's in there and who's going to see what on the subject line if this sends emails out. And, there was a whole extra layer on top of the standard HR security for TMR, which the platform can handle, but which getting folks who just done it through email to like be comfortable with was a thing, right?
Yes.
That kind of goes into creating technical debt. Like I remember having those conversations with, well, is this an every time type logic? If this, then that, or is there an accept? And you, I think, kind of used that to help guide, well, we don't want to create something that's so rigid that you can't grow into and evolve into. So how did that kind of play into your version of creating technical debt and how it related to HR as they're joining the platform?
Well, really, it's one of those things where you're trying to really have the biggest cup to catch everything that you possibly can. So that as the team members start to use the forms, and they, and this is going to kind of hop into focusing on our employee experience here. As a team member starts to come in and starts to use these forms and starts to hop into doing things, there's a mind shift change from picking up the phone and calling, or from typing out an email and hitting send to HR Answer Center, to now you're expecting the team member to provide a detail of information in their interaction with you that they might not know, or it might go beyond what they were thinking to try and get a hold of somebody to speak with. So from that perspective, when we start out, I go with, let's start with the biggest, broadest opportunity to catch the most information you can get from that team member without overburdening them into, exact detail by detail by detail. You're eventually going to get to that. And then as you continue to grow, you're going to be able to continue to add those lines in as you go back and review your cases and say, well, I need to add this additional question. Did they offer you a cup of coffee with creamer? And so maybe that question makes it to the form because you realize that that's what you're getting a big hit on. But if you put that question out the gate and people are like, why are they asking me this? I don't understand this question. They're going to be more apt to hop to something that's easier for them to fill out, easier for them to move forward with.
That other category again.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about the interactions between HR and IT, especially when it came to the employee center or the portal. And this is one of the most common lessons learned that we see in our implementation experience with customers is, at the end of the day, it is an enterprise service management platform. It is supporting multiple groups, not just HR. It's not just an HR product or not just IT. Why was it important for you that there was support from HR and IT, not only on the project team level, but also at the executive sponsor level?
So really having, and I'll start with our executive sponsors, really having their support and guidance in this, especially when you're talking about metrics. And so we now want to have all of our HR Answer Center agents put in tickets to start capturing metrics. Without our executive leadership helping to sponsor that and helping to encourage that step and make that a thing, you don't have those agents falling back onto old practice of collecting things through email, just picking up the phone and having a conversation. You're actually forcing those communications to occur. And then as we got into the more difficult pieces with team member relations, having HR and IT at the table to really talk through what were IT's best practices. And that's kind of a lot of what our HR friends would do, is they would say, well, what do you do on IT side? Do you send an email when you do this? Do you expect somebody to know this? Would you put this as a drop down? And so we really bantered a lot back and forth between us on what kind of worked best on the IT side, because we did it first. And then they were able to take that and kind of lessons learned from that and what they've seen and how they've logged tickets and what they've done to move their side forward. I would say HRIS, because they do have a tendency of being the more technical folks in HR, they were really our biggest advocates sitting at the table with us through the HRSD implementation. They helped walk through testing. They helped set expectations. They helped kind of support and translate the technical speak to HR speak. And so it was a really a phenomenal partnership to have them with us in going through this journey.
I think their support of user acceptance testing in particular, and helping to translate technical configuration to how does that relate to HR Answer Center's job. What does a typical use case look like? Can they work it from end to end instead of an email now using ServiceNow and manage that interaction with the employee?
Mm-hmm. And
that was a pretty cool part of it.
I think the other thing to throw out, guys, was, take your time to get the HR folks used to using a different system, right? Like spend the time there, it's worth it. These projects are as much people and process, if not more, as their technology. And, at the end of the day, they're the ones who have to be comfortable with the change in modality from what they used to do. So it's worth it to take the time, go back, do showbacks as you're building these screens, have them use it, do dry runs before go live, like give the white glove service for the best outcome to the HR folks.
Totally agree. Totally agree with that. And Nicole, you touched on this a little bit around employee experience. It's very natural to get a little bit caught up on actually the opposite when we're doing an implementation, because a lot of times you don't necessarily have an employee who's not part of the HR organization participating in the implementation. And I think there's a tendency to focus more on process optimization and efficiency rather than, well, what does that look like for the employee? What's that, Ruben, to your point, what's that white glove experience, but for the employee? How did you help the teams stay focused on employee experience, and was it important in the implementation?
So it definitely was important in the implementation. A lot of it was, how is the employee going to see this and interact with this, and what are the language use and how you should present this to a team member, and what are they going to see and how are they going to, register the language you're putting on those forms. And, we had actually rolled off right before this, we had rolled off from doing, one of our leaders on the ITSM side of the house had done a broad scale survey through our ServiceNow tool. And so we had a lot of feedback on our employee portal and how it was being used and where things were at, and being able to look and find and use things. So I think in the back of our minds, when we were walking into that, we were thinking about the feedback we had received on the IT side of the house, and how do we take that and work with that and translate that into the employee experience. I'll just say that the integrated survey tool is really cool to use. You can pop that on forward and get that feedback on the spot. So really soliciting that feedback and getting that loop back to you on what people are thinking has been right. It always comes out as a mixed bag. So you have some folks who are, everything is great and it was the best experience and super easy and super friendly, and you have your other side of the house that's like, I could never find what I wanted, and how to get there. And really, when you look at those and you touch base with those individuals and you say, well, what was it? Well, maybe they were using different language and you're able to incorporate that. So really, really working with that employee feedback.
Okay, so along the same lines of language, you had a very creative way of helping us explain and bring the HR team members into the fold when it comes to software implementation. From an implementation perspective, we sometimes use different language around agile and user stories, especially when we're gathering requirements. How did peanut butter and jelly sandwich play into that?
So it's my most favorite example to use when I'm working with analysts, new analysts, people who have no clue, or even some clue on how to put together requirements. And on the IT side of the house, we're very accustomed to putting down requirements, and we work through Agile and Waterfall and details, and we expect all of these details. When you work with somebody in HR who is not familiar with that, or you work with somebody, external to IT, you could apply this anywhere else. I always resort back to my peanut butter and jelly sandwich example, because when you ask somebody for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it sounds pretty self-explanatory. I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But to build a solution, to build a system, to take that next step forward, I need to know exactly how to construct that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. What type of bread do you want? Is it supposed to be toasted? What kind of jelly am I supposed to use? Is it grape jelly? Do you want preserves? Do you not want jelly? Is it just supposed to be peanut butter and Nutella? Then you get into peanut butter and you've got the whole smooth versus crunchy debate. But when you work with the folks in HR and you're working with somebody and you're saying, well, I want you to write your requirements, you need to break it down into an example that everybody on the planet knows how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so you're starting out and you're really giving them that breakdown of, okay, we're talking about jelly now. Here is what I need to know about jelly. Tell me all the bits and pieces that come together on how I'm going to get the jelly for the sandwich. And then those pieces start clicking and they have a much easier time providing you what you want. But when you come into a business unit that is not familiar with requirements and agile and user stories and examples, they start sitting down and they start shutting down because the language we're using with them is not something that's constructive for them to give you the feedback that they need.
Just FYI, Nicole, the debate's been settled. It is creamy, never crunchy on the peanut
Okay.
butter. So we can lay that one flat.
Get that one checked.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question from the crowd here. And Nicole, how does the ServiceNow HR Answer Center work with your underlying technology? What is your core HR system? And are you using those two in tandem?
So fantastic question. We are actually in the middle of an RFP for a new ERP solution. We have data that is being fed into ServiceNow from our existing ERP. And so new hires, terminations, name changes, all of that data actually feeds into ServiceNow. So ServiceNow has a comprehensive profile behind the scenes of all of our employees, our contractors, our volunteers. So while we have 8,600 employees, I believe we've got about 14 to 15,000 people in total fed over to our ServiceNow environment that makes up our entire ecosystem of people. And the back end has all of their information directly from the HR system.
Love when those questions come in.
Hmm?
Since we talked a little bit about your our lessons learned and key takeaways, if you were to give guidance to another organization looking to start their HRSD implementation journey, what's a best practice that you would coach them to start with?
So I would start with the fundamentals with your HR team and make sure everybody is speaking the same language. So before you get into talking contracts or talking scopes of work or anything else, sitting down with your environment, pulling up a screen and saying, this is what it's going to look like. This is the things we are talking about. Having that together, as well as also having, if those teams are working out of PDF and there's a process that surrounds emailing of a PDF, I think that precursor to anything. And I think it's really great when you're working with people, again, you know, this peanut butter and jelly sandwich, getting them to walk away from the system, to walk away from the technology and say, okay, what is your step? Okay, if that, then this, if that, then this, and really getting all of that mapped out so that when you do sit down with an implementation partner, when you do sit down with your technology team, you know, you've got a little bit more of a straw man built out that says, this is the form. And hey, by the way, in this box, I'm expecting 4 answers only. And that really helps you drive the technical conversation. And so breaking that team away from the technology and kind of getting into the mix of it and getting their processes started before contracting, before all of the things, I think that's probably the most critical element.
Good stuff. So we still have some questions coming in. Nicole, how have you leveraged any of the life cycle events, things like onboarding, for example? And if you have or haven't, is that a future strategy?
Well, that is a fantastic conversation. Onboarding has been, now I will say, we have some really cool stuff built for like nursing new hires, and it fires off all sorts of things behind the scenes. We do not officially use onboarding yet, at risk of salespeople hearing that word. We've been in the great debate, right? We're in the middle of this ERP RFP. And so onboarding is really that next step of where you move and where you go with things. So yes, we have been talking about using the life cycle steps. Yes, we want to progress forward with that. We're kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern due to this RFP. And as soon as we have some decisions made there, we'll be proceeding forward.
Do you mind sharing the rest of your ServiceNow roadmap for HRSD and for IT?
Sure, most definitely. And keeping with our focus on our employees, we're looking to take a look at our employee center design. So as I had mentioned, we have brought in parking and all sorts of other folks along the way. So our catalog is definitely getting a little deep. And so we want to continue to refine that, continue to find the knowledge bases and utilization of that. We want to continue to move forward with our virtual agent and really getting virtual agent fully up to speed. We've got it out there, but it's not as baked as we would like. Mobile is on our horizon for this year. And then as well as more of those onboarding activities that kind of bridge that gap between HR and IT. Josh is the mastermind behind some of our new hire workflows for nursing, for providers, and all of the various deployments of those. Specifically on our HR side of the house, we're looking at, so it's a nugget within a nugget. I'm using some of Ruben's terms here. Our integrated disability and access management team is even more secure than our team member relations team. And so we want to go ahead and get them in, as well as our organizational development team. And they do kind of span an IT and HR side of things. So they're the two next HR folks to join our family.
Got a lot on the roadmap, a lot planned.
Definitely a lot moving forward.
Hey,
And then
Nicole,
anything. Oh, go ahead, Linda.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Sure. So we have another question coming in, Nicole. How are you handling collecting any vaccination data, things like flu or COVID? Are you doing anything with that in ServiceNow?
Not within ServiceNow. So we do have a team member medical clinic, and that's actually part of the team member medical clinic side. And so that's external to ServiceNow.
Yeah, Linda, I think there at ServiceNow had released like a workplace health or something kind of add-in app that you guys support, right? It kind of gives some out-of-the-box functionality around that.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
mistaken.
Yes, our safe return to work apps do that along with workplace service delivery.
And Nicole, I think we do have a screenshot of your portal. Would you like to take us for a quick tour before you guys, I think, redesign it?
Sure. So this is kind of our single central place. You can see that, we really chose to make it a simplistic approach. So you see our Google search bar in the middle, and then you have needs assistance, need HR assistance. So it kind of gives you the two paths to go. The make a request drops you into our catalog as a whole. Have a technology idea drops you into our idea and demand portal. So we've got ideas out there that anybody in our business and operations can go ahead and ask for ideas. Need help drops you into our incident side, and shared services request really leads to our PMO office. At the top, you'll actually see our banner bar from our go live this past week. We collected about 1,500 tickets in the span of a couple of weeks for our new hospital. And so the link at the top actually led our team members to our new hospital intake and command center. So it was a great opportunity to pop that up there as well.
Pretty cool. It's a beautiful new building that you showed. Very, very nice. Linda, do we have any more questions?
No, I think that we've answered them all. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Awesome. Well, I definitely enjoyed getting to talk to everybody today, and thank you for your time.
Wonderful. So I think with that, we are ready to do the raffle. Would like to thank everyone for your time today. We sincerely appreciate it. Ruben, I think you might be announcing the first winner.
Yep, I am. And before I do that, how do they actually contact us if they're a winner?
So we will contact them.
Okay, perfect. Even easier.
So,
Well, the first winner, drum roll please, is Troop Kirkus from Dollar General. Congrats, Troop. Brandy, I think you have a winner number 2.
I sure do. So our next winner is Marge Stamen from Yale New Haven Health. So thank you very much, Marge. We will be in touch with you on how to collect your AirPods. And then for everyone that attended today's session, just in case we didn't have a chance to answer your questions live, or if you'd like to know a little bit more about how ServiceNow can help you in your employee experience journey, we are offering a complimentary 2-hour consultation with the Anti-team. So to take advantage of that, you can either scan the QR code or reach out to Joe at joe.houghton@theanti.com. And we'd love the opportunity to chat with you.
Awesome. So once again, on behalf of ServiceNow, Moffitt Cancer Center, WWT, and the Anti, we'd like to thank you for your time and participation in today's webinar. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a great day.